What's up guys, this is Alan, and in today's episode I'm going to teach you exactly how to water your plants in the winter. Yes, winter is here, and there's a difference between watering in the summer and watering in the winter time. Today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to water all your plants. Evergreen plants, deciduous plants, tropical plants, succulents, cacti, houseplants, whatever plant you have, I'm going to show you exactly how to water it during the winter time. So let's get started. If this is the first time watching me, you need to understand something about plants. Why is there a difference between watering in the summer and watering in the winter? Plants sweat for the same reasons you do, and this is the main reason why you don't water your plants as often in the winter time as you do in the summertime. So I broke this down into 4 different categories. Category number 1 is going to be evergreen plants. Yes, those are going to be plants that do not drop their leaves in the winter time. Those are going to be plants that stay active during the winter time. Category number 2 is going to be plants that drop their leaves in the winter time. Plants that are deciduous plants. Plants that have a taproot system. Category number 3 is going to be cacti, bananas, succulents, any plant that holds water. And category number 4 is going to be your house plants. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's get started with category number 1. That is going to be evergreen plants. Plants that do not go to sleep in the winter time. Plants that stay active, like bamboo. Let me give you an example. So how do you water an evergreen plant in the winter time? Well, we know that it's not sweating as much as it's sweating in the summer. So how do you water it? Well, if your plant is in a container, that is very easy to do. You are going to follow the 75% rule. That is, as soon as this container is dry about 75%. That is exactly how often you are going to water your plant in the container. Very easy to do. All you gotta do is water your plant, and then every 24 hours check your container and see how long it takes to dry about 75%. Do you have to be exact? Does it have to be 75% on the dot? No, it does not. Roughly somewhere in that area and you will be fine. To give you an idea, this bamboo right here, this is an all-hammy giant timber bamboo. In the summer I was watering this plant 3 times daily. Now winter time I'm watering this plant every 3 days because it takes 3 days to go from wet all the way down to 75% dry. Now, let's say your plant is in the ground, not in a container. Well, there are 2 things that you need to look for. If it's the first winter your plant is in the ground, what you are going to do is you're going to follow the finger method. And that is, you're going to check just a few inches away from the main trunk. You're going to scoop all your mulch back, all the way back. And then what you are going to do is you're going to stick your finger in the soil all the way down. Yes, obviously your plant is not going to be as big as this one right here. It's first winter. And what you are going to do is you're going to check every 24 hours after you water your plant to see how long it takes to no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger. Yes, this method will work with all your evergreen plants. Then, when you no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger, you can go ahead and give it another day or 2 days, and then you can go ahead and water your plant. It's that simple. This is for your plant if it's the first winter in the ground. Now, let's say your plant has been in the ground for a few winters, 2-3 years, like this sunburst bamboo right here. So how do you water this bamboo then? Well, you can follow the same method. Water your plant, then every 24 hours, check with your finger. When you no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger, then what you are going to do is you're going to multiply that number by 2. So let's say, I'll give you an example. When I water this bamboo right now, it will take right now 4 days for me to no longer feel moisture on the tip of my finger. So what you do is you multiply 4 by 2, gives you 8. So roughly every 8 days, you can safely water this plant, and that will give your plant enough time to dry in between watering, so you will not overwater your plant. The temperatures are cold, cloudy every day, evaporation rate's a lot lower, so it takes a lot longer in between watering for you to water your plants. It's that simple. You can follow that method with any of your evergreen plants. And you don't have to be exact, guys. You can go maybe every 9 days, 10 days, 7 days, roughly in that area, but by multiplying that number by 2 gives you a good number to follow. Okay guys, category number 2 is going to be any deciduous plant, any plant that goes into dormancy during winter time, any plant that drops leaves in the winter time, or any plant that has a taproot. So how are you going to water those plants in containers? Well, if your plant, like this green mulberries right here, are in a container, well, the way you're going to water these plants is very easy. You're going to follow the 75 to 100% rule, and that is you're going to wait until this container is 75 to 100% dry. And then what you're going to do is you're going to multiply that number by 2. To give you an idea, right now this container takes, I would say, 3 to 4 days to dry 75%. So when you multiply that number by 2, 3 times 2 is 6. So safely I can water this container every 6 days. And it's happy for the entire winter. Now you have to understand why. Because this plant is going into dormancy. You can see the leaves are turning yellow, they're falling off. So the water consumption of this plant is going down drastically. On top of that, the temperatures are cold, it's cloudy, the evaporation rate is a lot lower than in the summer, so it's going to take a lot longer for this soil to dry. And that is how you water your plants in containers that are deciduous, that have taproots, that go into dormancy during the winter time. Some of those plants are going to be like mulberry trees, apples, peaches, plums, nectarines, ash trees, mulberry trees. Anyways, that is how you water your plant in the container. Now, let's say your plant is in the ground, like this Shangri-La mulberry. Yes, this plant is going into dormancy right now, so how do you water it? Well, if it's the first winter in the ground, you can follow the same method as you did with category number 1. That is the finger method. You're just gonna go next to the trunk, a few inches away, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna stick your finger in the soil all the way down. And then when you no longer feel moisture on your finger, what you are going to do next is you're going to multiply that number by 3. Yes, if it's the first winter in the ground. So let's say it took 4 days for that plant to dry long enough for you not to feel any moisture on the tip of your finger. Multiply it by 3, that's going to give you 12. So every 12 days you can safely water your plant during its first winter. Easy. Now it gets even easier. So let's say this is its second winter in the ground. Its third winter in the ground. It doesn't matter how old it is. If it's older, check this out. How often do you water your tree in the ground? Well, don't water it at all. Yes, you heard that right. Do not water your plant because there is no need. The root system of your plant is going to be deep enough in the soil that whatever rain you get through the winter time, it's going to be more than enough for your tree.
But Alan, my tree is going to die. It needs water because water makes the trees grow faster.
No, you're wrong. Your tree is not growing. Its water consumption rate has gone drastically down in the winter time. The evaporation rate is even lower. It's cold, so it's going to take a very long time for the soil to dry just a few feet. During the winter time, any of my deciduous plants, like you can see, my ash trees back there, they're dropping the leaves. My other Pakistan mulberry over here is getting ready to go into dormancy as well. I do not water any of my deciduous plants in the ground. And if you guys didn't know, I live in the desert. We do not get enough rain here, but the rain we get, it's enough to keep all my plants that have tap roots, all my plants that go dormant in the winter time, all my plants that are deciduous alive during the winter time. If I get enough rain, water during the winter for all my plants, if you are in my area, you will too, and if you are anywhere else in the US, you will definitely get a lot more water than I get in my area. Category number 3, guys, that is going to be cacti, bananas, and any other succulents and any other plant that holds water. What do I mean that holds water? Well, if you didn't know, these pads right here are full of water. These are prickly pear cactus, and then over here I have some leftover Peruvian apple cactus. Now these pads right here, if you break one open, are full of water. Yes, just to give you an idea, in the summer, these plants in containers I water once a week, and that is in the summer when my daily temperatures are between 110 and 120 degrees. So how often do you think I water during the winter time? I don't. If your plants are in containers, your succulents or cactus, you really do not need to water at all if your plants are outside. Whatever rain we get during the winter time, it's going to be more than enough to keep your plants alive. You have to understand, even if your soil is 100% dry, your plant has water inside it that it's going to drink, and it's going to keep it alive through the winter time. But you gotta understand too that it's cold, the evaporation rate's a lot lower, your plant's not even sweating hardly at all. So these plants that hold a lot of water, like cactus, if you have them in containers outside and you get some rain in the winter time, I mean, you don't have to water them at all. If your plants are in the ground, don't even worry about it. Don't water them. They will be fine. Easy. These types of plants are going to be one of the easiest plants that you are going to grow anywhere. Now these plants over here, these are called Chinese yellow flowers. They are in the banana family. So how do you water these plants? Well, these plants hold water too, but they do not hold as much water as cactus. So how do you water them? Well, if your plants are in containers, what you want to do every single time is you need to let that plant dry completely 100% in the potting mix that you have it in. And then you can probably wait a week, 2-3 weeks, and then let's say you didn't get any rain at all. If you know your plant does not hold as much water as a cactus, then you can give it a little bit of water. You got to be very careful when watering these types of plants that hold water, because if you keep your potting mix, or if you keep the soil around the stem of your plant wet and the temperatures are cold, your plants are going to rot. How long does it take for these types of plants to rot? Well, in my area, let's say my soil stay this wet, like here, it's moist. If it stay like this, I would say for 6 to 8 weeks, I will probably start getting some rot on the bottom, right where the stem meets the potting mix, or in the ground, the soil. So you got to be very careful. During the winter time, less it's always going to be better for these types of plants. And that brings us to category number 4. That is going to be houseplants, like this croton plants that I have, that I saved from the dying rack at the store. So how do you water your houseplants? Well, houseplants are very easy to water, regardless of the kind that you have. So let's say you have a croton, just like I have right here, and you have it indoors. Well, if you have your plant indoors, how are you gonna water your plant? 2 ways. If your plant is evergreen and your plant has a shallow root system and your plant does not hold much water, you are going to wait until, I would say, almost 100% of the container is dry. 90 to 100%. See how long that takes, and that is exactly how often you're gonna water your plant indoors. Very easy to do. The cooler the temperatures inside your house, the longer it's going to take for that plant to dry out. As long as you let your plants dry in between watering, somewhat, you will never have any overwatering issues. Now, let's say you have succulent plants inside your house. Well, remember, those plants hold water. So those plants, you can probably let them dry 100%, and then what you can do is you can give them a few more days, and then you can go ahead and water them. Another way you can tell how to water your succulents, I'll probably have another video on this specifically, but you can wait until their leaves on your succulents shrivel up a little bit. They will shrink, and then that will tell you the plant's running out of water inside it, and then you can go ahead and give it some water. But for your succulents, as long as you let the container dry about 100% in between watering, even those plants are very hard to overwater indoors. And that's it, guys. That is how you water your plants in the winter time. Watering in the winter is really not much different than watering in the summer. The only difference is you don't have to water as often. And you have to make sure you let your plants dry in between watering somewhat, because if you don't, with the colder temperatures, lack of evaporation, then root rot is going to be an issue, especially for those plants that hold water, like cactus, bananas, succulents, and others. Hopefully this helps you out. I know I did not answer all your questions, so if you have any other questions, comment below. And as always, guys, if you like the videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.